Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back to another episode of The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I am Carla Renata, and if this is your first time joining this podcast, please give me a big thumbs up if you're on YouTube and click the bell for notifications and subscribe to the channel. You never know who you might see here. Also, I have a big show ready for you today. It's filled with a plethora of interviews, so we'll get right into it. But before we do, let me just talk about my week as I always do. We got Juneteenth coming up this week, y'all. And for those of you that are not familiar with Juneteenth is the actual day that slaves were emancipated in the United States. Thus, the Emancipation Proclamation went into effect on Juneteenth, right? And it's the day that a lot of African Americans or Black people look at as our Independence Day and not July 4th. So there's that. But there is a film, a documentary on Netflix called High on the Hog that you should check out that is strongly tied to Juneteenth. It is hosted by Steven Soderbergh, and it is based on a book by the same name. Check it out. I also moderated a while back ago. I told you guys about this panel that I did for the ATX Film Festival. The ATX Film Festival is a television film festival that deals with all things TV. I moderated a panel for David Makes Man. It aired yesterday. If you go and you register for the ATX Film Festival, that Q&A will pop up and you will be able to see it there as long as the festival is happening, which is for the next couple of days. Brandon is one of my true blue people that always watches my broadcast live, always. And I just wanted to give him a big thumbs up and let him know that I have seen his paintings and his drawings for me. So here's some that he did in honor of me talking about Luca today, which involves Luca himself. There's another one of Luca and his best friends. And then there's another one as Luca and Alberto turn into monsters after they have water thrown on them. I love that. He also sent me one for DC Comics has a movie that's coming out that is produced by The Rock, and he sent me a picture of that. And then he also sent me a Paw Patrol picture. So those are all the paintings that have come from my boy Brandon. I appreciate you so much for tuning in and supporting me. It means the world to me. Also, let's see what's going on over there. Okay. Also, what is happening is Black writers, Peter Rabbit. So Peter Rabbit was released this week, and they did a event to commemorate that. So that woman in the background on the TV screen, she works for Boulevard Kitchen, and she made some cupcakes and sent them to us to decorate with all that candy. It's just like a diabetic coma waiting to go live. But I have fun doing it, and I just wanted to show you guys what that was all about. Chaz Ebert, who runs RogerEbert.com, and Roger Ebert, I've talked about him numerous times on this podcast, was my inspiration for becoming a film critic. She's having Black Writers Week this week from June 14th through the 21st. I'm involved in a roundtable of Black critics at the movies called Who's Gaze, where Chaz is moderating it along with Tambe Obenson, Katia Woods, Reginald Ponder, Emmanuel Noisette, Sarah Ty Black, and the one of the co-founders of the African American Film Critics Association, of which I am a member, Mr. Gil Robertson. Tonight, I'm going to attend Rise Again, Tulsa, and the Red Summer. Now, another event that falls around Juneteenth are the Tulsa killings massacre that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, for a portion of town that the African American community affectionately refers to as Black Wall Street. So that is happening on Nat Geo this week. And then the very next day, on June 19th, you can see it on Hulu. I wanted to mention that The Courier and Funny That Way, the Julia Scotti film, is now streaming. Julia Scotti and I had a wonderful conversation when I hosted a Q&A with her at the Bentonville Film Festival last year. And now her film has finally dropped. So please support her. It's Pride Month, and she is a loud and proud transgender woman who is hilarious. So please check her out with Funny That Way. And then, of course, I wanted to remind you, we had Brescia Webb here last week. The House Next Door, Meet the Blacks 2 is now in theaters. Get out and support my boy, Deon Taylor. And now, having said all of that, let's take a trip around the curve. Come on, babies, let's take a trip around the curve. Jennifer Lopez's Nuyorican Productions has signed a multi-year first-look deal with Netflix spanning feature films, TV series, and unscripted content. Sanaa Lathan will be making her featured directorial debut on Paramount Players' adaptation of Angie Thomas's New York Times bestseller On the Come Up. Rob Zombie, the heavy metal rocker turned director, has announced that he will direct a take on The Munsters, the 60s sitcom about a family of monsters. Anna Taylor-Joy is in negotiations to star in Searchlight's dark comedy The Menu. Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan are in talks to star as New York Times reporters Megan Twohey and Joey Cantor in She Said for Universal Pictures. Dwayne Johnson has just unveiled the voiceover cast for the upcoming animated DC movie DC League of Super Pets. The list includes Kevin Hart, Keanu Reeves, Kate McKinnon, Vanessa Bayer, John Krasinski, Diego Luna, and Natasha Lyonne. Anne Hathaway, Tahir Rahim, Marissa Tomei, Joanna Kulik, and Matthew Broderick are set to star in She Came to Me, a romantic comedy from writer and director Rebecca Miller. Taraji P. Henson is taking a ride on Easy Street Baby, and she is set to play the villainous Miss Hannigan in Annie Live. Ava DuVernay's Array won Peabody's Institutional Award for Narrative Change work for the past decade. Congratulations, Diva. A new version of Stephen King's Christine is in development. Brian Fuller set to direct for Blumhouse Productions. MGM has secured feature rights to Exoplanet with Gina Prince Blythewood attached to direct. Jonah Hill is set to star in an untitled comedy feature at Netflix, which marks the directorial debut of Blackish creator Kenya Barris, according to an individual with knowledge of that project. Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore are set to star in the next film from Carol director Todd Haynes, a drama titled May December. And that is it for this week's trip around the curve. Okay, moving on with the show. I'm going to do a review of Luca as soon as we take a look and a listen to this interview with one of its stars, Jim Gaffigan. You do comedy, stand-up, and things of that nature. What do you think makes the best use out of your comedic sensibility, doing feature films or doing animated films?
Animated films, there is something about a vocal quality. Like the thing that people don't realize, and this sounds like me complaining about gold bricks, is that doing animated films, you're like, all right, you don't have to get dressed up, you don't have to get makeup. There is a lot more exertion of energy than you would think.
Of course, because you can't be seen. So you have to make your vocal cords do what people would normally see.
Yeah, I mean, again, compared to like real hard work, it's not. But it's there is a certain there's a certain effort that goes into it that always surprises me. It's the animation thing. Obviously, this is a Pixar project, so I'm so thrilled to do a Pixar thing. But voice acting is always presented like it's so easy. You just go in there for a couple hours. But the reality is if you really give it your all, which you should, you leave there and it's more exhausting than like 8 hours of shooting in front of a camera. It's a strange balance, but that might be also because, me standing for 4 hours is hard for me. I don't like movement.
I kind of gathered that as you were speaking. I was like, I'm feeling like my dude's not a movement kind of dude, but it's all good.
I'm not a movement.
So, what would you say? Luca and Alberto do these death-defying jumps off of these rocks, right, into the ocean. And I'm like, ooh, okay, good luck with that. When you were a kid, did you ever do anything like that? That you were like, because as children, we're fearless, right? We have no fear. We don't think that if we jump off a rock into the ocean, that our head might split open. We just don't think like that.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a moment like that when you were a kid?
I mean, some. I was not the kid that was like, "Hey, let's jump off this roof." I'd be like, "You know what? I don't know if I want to do that." So, and as we know, there's plenty of adults that are like, I mean, every stunt person is, and thank God they exist. But like, they're like, "Yeah, I'll do that." And it's like, for me, I'm like, because you, as an actor, you have to do some of it, and you have to wear like a harness, and you're like, I can't walk for like a day. And these people do it every day. So as a kid, I mean, I played sports. I played football where I would just bash my head into other people. So, which is stupid. But, at the time I thought it was okay. I mean, I think that's why, like, historically, people in the army were like that age, because I think once you get older, you're like, don't do that. That's stupid. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah, I do.
it's like running into battle. Like, you got to be like 18, because if you ask like a 50-year-old guy to do that, he'd be like, well, first of all, can't we walk there? Do we have to run? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Trust me, I know more than you think.
Can't we talk about this? What about we go out to dinner, we get some cocktails, and we'll figure this out? I don't know if we need to fight about this.
Not go get some cocktails and figure it out. That's ooh, that's funny. So Luca has his best friend Alberto, who is his ride or die person. Yeah. Do you have a ride or die?
I do. I had a ride or die definitely around this age. I grew up in a small town in Indiana, and me and this friend who is now, he's a doctor in Maine.
Wow.
We were kind of like, we got to get out of here. And by the way, there was nothing wrong with the town I grew up in. That was my motivating thing. So, but what's interesting, and which I think this movie captures so well, is that we have these friends, these ride or die friends, and our lives change. So my great friend, who's a doctor in Maine, we have different lives, but like we still have that friendship. Do you know what I mean? And so that's what I think is so neat, that they've captured this, that Luca pursues this this different path from this friend who's given him this incredible gift, but it doesn't weaken the importance of that friendship. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because I think we all know that friendships are not disposable. There is something very precious, even if, I mean, that's what's so weird about this day we're in. It's like we have these friends that like have these diametrically opposing views on things, but you still feel an affinity for them. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And you're right. Sometimes when you're a child, those people knew you before you became the person that you are now. So there's something to be, it's like being wrapped up into a comfort blanket. It's like going back to what when you felt safe, when you felt like, there were no infinite boundaries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that made total sense what you said. And I echo that sentiment tenfold. Of all the Disney films that are out there, what's your favorite one?
Well, I think I'm partial to the Pixar ones. You know what I mean? So my kids love the Marvel stuff, and I understand that they're the biggest thing in the world, but I think that, like some of what Pixar does is it's so ambitious, and I don't think people realize the risk that they undertake in like Soul. That was really ambitious. And so I love the movie on a lot of different levels, and I know nothing about jazz or anything like that, but it's like, I love the ambition of it, because that's the bravery that is necessary to do something creatively important. And I'm not saying I always do that, but so I loved Soul, like one of those movies, and I think Pixar does it consistently, where you walk out and you're like, wow, that's, that movie's better than a conversation I've had in a year. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. As a dad, um, you played Luca's dad, and you're so like Luca's dad, Lorenzo, was just kind of like this. Like he never got too excited about anything. He was like the person that brought everything down to a normal, pleasable level. And I feel like that you were the perfect person to play that role because you're very much that in that lane. So having said that, I wanted to thank you for your time today. Sorry about the little glitches at the beginning, but I appreciate you. And I really loved you in the film, and I love the film. So thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim Gaffigan. That was a fun and fluffy interview. So I also have the directors of Luca. Well, not the directors, the director and one of the producers. I have Andrea Warren, one of the producers, and Enrico Casarosa, who is the director of Luca. I chatted with them too. So take a look and listen to that conversation too. When you guys were collaborating on this together, were you like Alberto and you were telling each other Silencio Bruno all the time? I'll start with Andrea first.
That's true. That's definitely part of the process.
There was a lot of that. Yeah, we, between all the gauntlets you have to go through normally, and then we had the extra pandemic gauntlet, the Brunos were very loud in our head. And we had to help each other. Yeah, no, it's so meta. We kept on thinking, we have to surround ourselves with Albertos that tell us, you can do this, we can do this.
Did you have anything to add to that, Andrea?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I would just say it takes a long time. Any creative process takes time and patience. And I think, sometimes when audiences see our films, it just feels like maybe we just sat down and wrote that out and put it on the screen, but it really takes a lot of trial and error. And you're right, Bruno is a part of that. So, I think anybody out there who wants to pursue a creative project, needs to, like Enrico said, make sure you have some Albertos around.
I know that's right. Everybody needs a good Alberto in their life, right?
It's true.
Now, this soundtrack that you used for the film, I loved it. It took me back to like those Federico Fellini, Sophia Loren films, What songs did you decide to use and what kind of didn't go away? And why did you decide on using a completely authentic Italian soundtrack?
Yeah, that was one of the wonderful reasons to place the period in the 50s. One of the first movies we started talking about as an inspiration was Stand By Me. And there's something about kids in the summer kind of movie that needs those radios to be turned on in these scenes. And so we knew that was an important part. I love the songs of the period, and there's so many. Honestly, the hard part was choosing them. And so, yeah, we knew from day one that was one of the wonderful ways to make it a little timeless, even by making it specific. I think in a weird way, it becomes a bit more timeless too. The same reason with the wonderful cinema of the time, right? As you're saying, like you're going to feel like in the Fellini movie. So we put a lot of homages to the golden era of Italian cinema. As far as songs, yeah, I feel like they're mostly, we looked at the period. There's a couple that we took a license. There's Il Gatto e la Volpe is one of my favorite, and it talks about actually the cat and the fox from Pinocchio. And it's a song that is actually kind of about impresarios and, kind of some musician getting swindled. But there's a feeling of camaraderie, a feeling of like, come on, Alberto is cat and fox all in one. And so it felt like a really wonderful way to talk about their friendship and seeing their friendship evolve while we play that song. That song is the one song is from the early 70s. And we're like, we'll let it slide because
skip it in there.
Yeah, it's one little exception. And we have so many amazing Mina is in this, Gianni Morandi. So I hope people go and rediscover these amazing old songs, and even they're still all live and in Italy. So we might even see some of them in Italy next week when we go and visit to show the movie.
Oh, you guys are going to Italy to show the movie there. Oh, they're gonna love it. It's like a love letter to them,
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to my hometown in Genova where I grew up. So it's really sweet. I'm going to see the real Alberto. My best friend name is Alberto. We left the name. And so it'll be really fun to see each other again.
That is so cool. I love how you used Nessa Dorma, because that's one of my favorite songs ever. I love that song so very, very much. So thank you for telling me about the sound. I couldn't wait to ask you about the soundtrack. I'm always intrigued why filmmakers use the music that they use in order to tell the story, because it ends up elevating the story so much and bringing it home in a different kind of way that without it wouldn't happen. Music always tells a story on its own, really. You were talking about your childhood friend Alberto. For both of you all, what is the most cherished part of your childhood? What's the most cherished childhood memory that you have? Enrico, you didn't put yours in a film, so I'm not even going to defer to you on this one, but I will defer to Andrea.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I think one thing that was fun. I grew up in South Dakota, and we lived out in the country. I mean, we could see cows from our dining room window in the distant hills, and so, but what was wonderful about that was that, I grew up in we were kind of this little neighborhood kind of in the middle of nowhere, and it was surrounded by acres of land. And so as kids, we just kind of ran free. Honestly, it's a thing most kids really don't get to do anymore. And we had so much fun. We were in the hills, same ones as the cows, running all over the place and coming back dirty and tired and hungry. And that was a lot of fun.
Now, how important was it? Well, I imagine it's very important, but to have the crew, Andrea, go to some parts of Italy and get it as authentic and spot on as possible, because you're dealing with animation, which is different than capturing it, with a camera and just going like this. How important and intricate was that process for you?
And, I always joke that we're sort of the strangest tourists you've ever seen, the ones coming from Pixar, because you're not taking the big vista picture. You're like looking at the stucco corner and how the layers of peeling paint, make this beautiful texture, or how the cobblestones are lining up, or the narrow streets, or, it's all those kinds of details that, we photograph like crazy. And the light, the way water, reflects light, and the feeling of hot summer, that we were trying to capture. So yeah, I think, and then I think what's fun about the style of the film is that it's not trying to, like you said, it's not trying to be a photo. It's not trying to be realistic. So what's fun is like, what details do you pull forth, to make it really feel like you've fallen into Italy, and you're immersed in that, like a storybook.
Alberto is like that ride or die friend for Luca. Who is your ride or die person? And I'll start with Enrico.
Oh, well, I interestingly, I set off into the world, left my home, and I found my wife over here in California.
Aww.
So my wife Mara is my best friend now, and when you're far away, it becomes even more important to find your new family. So that is, I'm very lucky that I found her here, and that she's my best friend.
Oh, that's so beautiful. How about you, Andrea?
Well, now I feel bad if I don't say my husband.
You're like, oh, the pressure.
He really is my best friend. I have a very good friend from college, Julie. Her name is Juliana. And we've been friends for many years, and raising kids together, as friends, and supporting each other. So yeah, it's Juliana is my dearest friend.
And not to be left out, I'll just share who my ride or die is. It's my mom. She lives with me. I take care of her. She brought me here, and she that's my girl. That's
awesome.
my person.
I get along with my mom too. I love hanging out with her. It's always fun to hear that.
That's my person. Well, I'm gonna tell you guys that I love the Luca. I love the intricacies of it, the colors, the vibe, the way you made the water reflect underneath, like you were talking about, Andrea. It's such a beautiful story about family, about friendship, about being different and what that means to different people. And yeah, it's been my pleasure to talk to y'all. And thank you so, so very much. And I also love that it's not, it doesn't make fun of the Italian culture, but it embraces and celebrates it. So thank you so much for that as well.
Thank you. That was definitely our goal. But anyway, it's lovely talking to you. I love your background. I love the name. I love the whole thing. I just wish you every success.
Such a pleasure to meet you and hang out. Yeah, thanks, Carla.
Oh, it's been my immense pleasure. Thank you. So you guys, we had a little bit of technical difficulties. For some reason, it wasn't live on Facebook and I had to delete it from, I mean, it wasn't live on Facebook or YouTube, but I see that we're up in the running. So, hey, Brandon, I showed the pictures at the beginning of the show. So go back and look at it and you'll be able to see it. All right, moving on. I have a couple of reviews. I'm going to hit them and quit them really, really quickly. There's a couple of things happening at the Tribeca Film Festival, which has been going on since June 9th. Is happening for a couple more days until the 20th. And one of the films that is premiering there, having its world premiere there tonight, is a film that I had an opportunity to see called Asking for It. It is a really great film. It stars Kiersey Clemens, who's also producing it, Vanessa Hudgens, Alexandra Shipp, and Gabourey Sidibe. And it's basically about this group of women that band together to take down guys who, you know, when someone has been physically violated and the guys will always say, well, they were asking for it. That's what this film is about. It's not a revengeful film, but it's a film about women taking back their power after being physically violated. And it has a very interesting cool spin on it, but it is premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival tonight. I wrote a review for it. It should be up in a couple of hours because I was asked to hold back on that review. So that's that about Asking for It. Holler is a film that debuted on Friday. It is an IFC Films release, and it is written by Nicole Riegel, written and directed by Nicole Riegel, and it stars Pamela Adlon and Jessica Barden. And it is about this young lady who, she comes from this family that nobody ever goes anywhere. They never do anything. Their lives are kind of stuck in this town and nobody really expects much from them. And they work at these plants. And, you know, whenever people work at plants and, what do you call it? Those things where they, anyway, plants. When they work at places like that, a lot of times the plants shut down, they lose their jobs and their way of life kind of goes in and out. So at any rate, this young lady has a chance to go to a nice school, get her education paid for, and have a chance at a better life. But she ends up joining the scrap metal crew, and it goes sideways real quick. But it's a really wonderful film about how you can turn your life around on a dime and still make things work. All right. Another one is 12 Mighty Orphans. It's based on a true story. It's directed by Ty Roberts. It stars Martin Sheen, Robert Duvall, and Luke Wilson as Rusty Russell. Rusty Russell was a Texas coach who was also an orphan, and he coached 12 Mighty Orphans into the Texas State Championship for football. It is a true story. Russell ended up, I keep wanting to say Wilson because Luke Wilson played him, but never mind, that's a whole other thing. Rusty Russell ended up being instituted into the Texas State Hall of Fame for sports. And he worked at this orphanage for over 16 years. Listen, I'm all about a good feel-good movie that's inspirational and a true story. This film is a little long for me, but what isn't long for me is the story that it inspires and that it tells, that with hard work and perseverance, you can accomplish anything, whether you are an orphan or not. Truman and Tennessee is directed by Lisa Imordino Vreeland. It deals with the work, lives, and personal journeys of two iconic American artists, Tennessee Williams and Truman Capote. It is footage of them talking And the things that they say about each other are hilarious. And they are two of America's most respected and revered playwrights. And it's just interesting to see how these two wonderfully genius men, writers, were able to find each other and have a friendship that lasted for both of their lives. All right, F9 is the new Fast and Furious franchise with the same crew back here again. And I'll tell you this about F9. It's produced by Universal Studios. It is directed by Justin Lin. Baby, there are more death-defying stunts that they can ever put their hands on, but that's what this franchise is known for. They have one more series in the franchise that is going to come out. We don't have a release date on that just yet. But I got to tell you, this one, the stunts are everything. So if you are there for the franchise and you are there for the stunts, you are going to get your giggle and groove on. But when they had some black men in space in a car with power jets attached to it, that's when I kind of tapped out. I'm just saying. I was like, black men in space. Why the two black men got to be in space? Why can't Vin Diesel be in space? I'm just saying. I tapped out with that. But everything else was mad cool. So check those films out if you have a chance. If you're able to do Tribeca Film Festival virtually, please do that. You have 7 more days to enjoy that if you like. All right, let's get back into the program. I have I have an interview with a young man called Addison Wright. He did a short film documentary on a ballerina troupe called Hip Play. Now, you have seen these dolls. They are Black ballerinas. You've seen them in a plethora of commercials across your airwaves. And this particular short is part of the Scene in Color film series. It's hosted by award-winning producer Will Packer. You know that name from Girls Trip, Straight Outta Compton. And this influential program will spotlight 3 incredibly talented emerging Black filmmakers, Addison Wright being one of them, and is sponsored by Target, along with Will Packer. And it's going to feature these rising BIPOC talents to show their filmmaking skills to the world. So I had a little conversation with Addison about Hip Play. So take a look and a listen to this interview with Hip Play's Addison Wright. Debbie Allen did a documentary around her hot chocolate nutcracker series dance concert that she does every year here in LA. And she talks very candidly in that about the fact that when she was growing up, and even with her daughter Vivian, that ideology around Black women and ballet still existed. So I say all of that to say, what was it about that subject that made you interested enough in it to make it into a short film?
Yeah, so I came across these girls through Instagram, and I remember being on the Explore page, and I watched one video. I was like, "Yo, these are Black girls doing ballet," but it's like it's different. And I saw them like moonwalking, like on point. I was like, "Yo, this is dope." Like I gotta look at more, like searching more. And I kept searching and searching, and then I ended up just researching them and saw they did a bunch of commercials for like Old Navy and Mercedes-Benz and things like that. So I was like, man, these girls are amazing. And then found out that they were based here in Chicago. So I was like, all right, that's a sign. Like I have to do something with these girls. They just blew me away, like from the very first moment I came across them. And initially the concept that I wanted to do was, make a music video with them that was kind of inspirational. Like, it was supposed to be a music video so people can just see, how good they were, and like get really like tight shots of the point shoes. And, like I had no background in dance or ballet. I played football my entire
That's what I
life.
was wondering, because I was like, does he have an affinity to dance? Is somebody in his family a dancer? Like, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, I have like no history with dance at all. But and that was the thing that really like brought me into it, was because I had no like relation to this at all, but I was just blown away.
Oh, I know that Spike Lee and Spike Jonze are inspirations for your filmmaking. Why those two particular people, and what exactly is it about their filmmaking that is inspirational to you?
Yeah, so along with Spike Jonze and Spike Lee, I think one of the other major filmmakers is Hype Williams. Like I grew up as a kid watching music videos. I grew up in the 90s, and I was like glued to MTV, the Box, BET, and I just always enjoyed watching music videos. With Spike Lee, my introduction to him was seeing all of the Jordan commercials that he did, and then from there, you know, I saw Do the Right Thing and like, you know, He Got Game and like all of these different films, and I was just always intrigued by him doing the double dolly shot where somebody would be sitting in front of the camera and they're like floating through the scene, and then his use of framing for like filming different emotions. Like if somebody's really big in the frame, it shows power, and if somebody's small, it shows weakness. With Spike Jonze, the way that he thinks, like it's so incredible to see so many things happening in one frame, and I think Spike Jonze is like really good at that. Like from the early days of watching Beastie Boys videos and things like that, and they were always just like wacky, and you know, I've just always been a fan of that type of filmmaking. So my ultimate goal for this film was for it to be seen by the masses. So when I was approached by NBC and they said, you know, we're taking these, we're highlighting Black films, and you know, it's called Seen in Color, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like this is exactly, you know, what I wanted for this film. You know, not only for it to be inspirational, but to shed light on who the hip hop ballerinas are and like what they do.
What is your favorite Black story on film that you could watch over and over and over again without hesitation?
That's so hard. that's really
You know,
hard.
you got a favorite movie or your favorite. Okay, how about your top? How about your top 2 or your top 5?
I love stories when it comes to just this film in general. So yeah, Love Jones and Do the Right Thing would be my top 2.
I'd say those are 2 good picks. You know, I'm from the Midwest too. I'm from St. Louis, so we got that in common. Hey, nice. Midwest in the Midwest. House. Well, Addison, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon there in Chicago to holler at a sister and talk about hip play. I'm looking for really wonderful things for you moving forward. I hope that you have an opportunity to even collaborate with Spike Lee or Spike Jonze or Hype Williams at some point. That would be awesome, because that would be a total full circle moment for you.
Absolutely. And I truly appreciate you having me, and you know, thank you for watching the film and enjoying it. That means so much to me.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I boohooed like a baby. I did. I cried and I cried, and it was tears of joy, just so you know. I wasn't crying. I was like, ooh, this is I was crying because I was filled up with a lot of joy and a lot of pride and a lot of enthusiasm that this young brother has put these young women on spotlight, because this is something that you would expect to see a woman directing just by virtue in nature of what it is. You wouldn't expect, you know, somebody that's like a Malcolm Jamal Warner doppelganger in Chicago to be directing something like that. I'm just saying.
I hear that so much. People say I look like him so much. It's so funny that she said.
It's true. All right, baby. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Addison. And you guys, this is going to be on NBC Universal and Peacock. So it will be on NBC and Peacock TV, which is a streaming service, not complimentary, but the streaming service that is the complement to the NBC network. Okay, I think I said that right. All right, so for the lack of time that I have, because the technical difficulties wore me out, and my producer, Mac, who is thebomb.com, she did her thing and she worked it out so that y'all can actually see us and we're not talking into the ether. Woo, Jesus. Okay. I'm going to the interviews with Jeff Kaufman and Marsha Ross dealing with Nazreen. They will be up after 5 o'clock. So you can check back on the YouTube channel at any given point and check out that interview. Nazreen is a documentary about a political prisoner over in Iran. She is wonderful, wonderful, a lawyer who is doing everything she can for women's rights and human rights in general from behind bars. And I had a great conversation with them. And you can also check out the interview with Mariam Perez Riera. She is the director of the Rita Moreno doc, I'm Just a Girl Who Decided to Go For It. That will be up on the YouTube channel as well. I'm not going to air them here, or I may put them on the show next week. I don't know. We'll see. But they will definitely be up on the YouTube channel, streaming somewhere between 6 and 6:30 this evening, Pacific time. But I am going to show you in real time, because it's really short, my interview with Wunmi Mosaku. So Wunmi was on that show called Lovecraft Country, which is like a horror thriller situation. And I had a really hard time watching it for that reason, but I didn't have a hard time watching her because she was the bomb. She also, in addition to being in Lovecraft Country, was in a Netflix film called His House. So now she has joined the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She is in the Loki television series, which is 6 episodes that will be airing on Disney Plus in the next 6 weeks. I had the privilege of seeing the first 2 episodes and the honor of speaking with Wunmi. So take a look and a listen to this interview with Loki's Wunmi Mosaku. Hey, Wunmi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing, sis?
I'm doing all right.
You sure are, honey, because you got 3 projects in 1 year. You were getting down. You were on fire. Yes, you are. So coming from Lovecraft Country and His House, and now you part of the MCU, did you ever imagine after watching Black Panther on the MCU that you would be a part of this universe?
Well, I asked. I did ask. I put it out there, and I am very grateful that it came back. I had never been into like superhero films, and then I watched Black Panther. And I was like, oh, Marvel are doing it right. I'm really interested. Like, how can I be a part of this world? And I said it out loud. I just do that at the beginning of a year. I'll say, I would like to do this one day. And it came.
That's all right. Creative visualization always works.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I am absolutely an advocate of it.
Cool. Now, girl, there's that scene where you are whooping Loki's posterior, honey. And I was like, yes, she is letting him have it. But was there a day while you guys were shooting that where there were shenanigans and y'all just had to go, okay, hold up, stop, cut. Can we do this again?
I must say I'm a little bit of a scaredy cat when it comes down to stunts. So I would get a little bit shaky and a bit nervous about hitting someone. I'm so scared of hitting Tom. Like, gosh, imagine if you punched the lead. You're getting so much trouble. And I've punched before by accident in drama school. And so since then, I've never felt completely confident in stunt training. But so I was very, very concentrated, to be honest. Like I didn't like go off and like get used to it. And my adrenaline was always pumping, and I was really, focused on not injuring Tom or getting injured myself. And so we did good. We did it a lot of times, and there was no injuries, and I am very proud of it.
Well, good. I'm happy for you, because I was like, yes, we got somebody that is not a size 2 kicking butt and taking names. I was all about that life right there, because I have been begging for Black superheroes, and I'm like, I done got more Black superheroes in 2021 than I've ever gotten in my entire life. I'm so excited. So excited. Now, I know that you and Gugu and Tom, you guys went to RADA together. How much of a comfortability factor did that play into being in this project for you? Because oftentimes as actors, we go into a project where we don't know anybody. It's like first day of school, right? But this wasn't the case for you. So how much did that play into you being comfortable and being able to let loose a little bit more?
Oh, it was like night and day. Like, I mean, if I think back to like my first day, even on Lovecraft Country, I was so nervous, and I was nervous, and I'm always nervous on camera, always. But walking in and having already made friends, like, you know, people, so I could literally hold on to Gugu's hand because I was nervous. I could tell Tom I was scared, and he'd be like, you know, you got this. Oh, that's Kevin. That's blah blah. This is, you know, he was like, you know, he knows everything about the MCU too. So I could literally just, oh wait, what's this? What's the Tesseract? What's this? You know, like, and I didn't. There was no shame. There was no shame in any of it because that was my friend, and I could just be honest with him, and I could be honest with her, and yeah. So the first day of school felt like, you know, it's like you've got a new form teacher, but you've still got the same classmates. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I know
yeah, okay.
But I still got my crew, you know.
That's a good analogy. I love that. It's a different situation, but you got your same classmates. I love that. That's a really, really cool way of looking at it. Now, this is such a big universe, and what Marvel has done is they've broken off all these characters into their own little universe, infiltrating their backstories and whatnot. Did you get like a MCU lookbook or something to kind of bring you up to speed? Because I can't imagine that you get the gig and they'd be like, okay, here, go.
Well, you know, actually, no. I did a lot of the research myself. I watched everything that Loki was in. But I didn't like, because my character is new, I didn't have to like go through all the comic books or anything like that. I just needed to know what was, you know, I just needed to know who Loki was and where he went wrong in the timeline. And I had to remember what hasn't happened yet because we go back in time. So like, you know, yeah, so it was more kind of stitching together his life and story, which I just did through the films. I didn't like go through all the comics or anything.
So let's talk about that. Hunter B15, you have a whole new opportunity, like you said, to create a world for somebody that doesn't exist in the universe. You have the opportunity to create a whole different thing for her. Not different, but something that fits into the universe. What is your bucket list for what happens with her moving forward?
Ooh. You're
like, ooh. You're like, why you ask me that, girl?
Right. I feel like I know it's not breaking an NDA, but it's like, I don't know.
You can say what you wish would happen. Now, whether or not it has already happened is different. Oh, you can't talk about what's already happened, but you can talk about a wish list.
Okay. What do I wish for Hunter B15? I really wish for more stunts though, because I really did enjoy doing that, and I loved the training. I would definitely take more stunts, more fights. What else?
Maybe a love interest.
Oh,
yes, girl. Hunter B15 got to have a boo.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't even thought about that. She seems so like cool and like Miss Independent, you know.
But that's what makes it cool for her to have a boo, because she is independent. We need to, you know, see all them rough edges softened out, all them curves kind of rounded out a little bit. You know what I mean?
I love it. Let's go for it. Let's say love interest. Let's do it.
Yes, have a love interest, you know, have a little Idris popping through there or something like that. You know, I'm just saying.
Well, I love it.
Well, girl, that is my time. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations on being part of the MCU, and you're a fantabulous actress. I'm a huge, huge fan of yours. So congratulations, and hopefully we'll see and talk to each other soon.
Thank you. Thank you so, so much.
You're welcome. Bye. Thank you, Wunmi. Y'all check out Lovecraft Country. Y'all check out Loki on Disney Plus. It is streaming right now. Thank you, Michael B. Thank you, Brandon, for being here. Thank you, in spite of all the technical difficulties. I know some people have been trying to log on. People are texting me and messaging me, and they're like, where's Stu at? I'll get to it in a minute. But if this is your first time joining me, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications if you are on YouTube. But hold up, wait a minute. Next week, y'all, I'm going to do a full recap of the AFI docs because it is going to start the week after, starting June 22nd. And I have a huge amount of films that I'm seeing in conjunction with that. I'm going to review Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, which stars Selma Hayek, Samuel L. Jackson, and Ryan Reynolds. I'm going to talk about Zola. I'm going to talk about the Apple Plus doc 1971. So join me here next week for the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. And I love y'all. Thank you so much for supporting me. I really do appreciate it. I enjoy talking about movies, and I enjoy talking about movies with you and to you. So until the next time, I will see you next week. Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all. Deuces.